Andrew, so how do you actually make the mirror wrapping? How do you make the gallery wrap for your canvases?
Okay, Jeff, happy to show you. What we'll do is we'll grab an image, we'll size it, we'll have it ready and put the mirroring, it's called the mirroring of the edges, okay, so gallery wrap mirror edges, and go through the steps that we do that, show you how to create an action as well too for that.
Cool.
And pretty straightforward.
I notice you've got a black and white here. You don't really do a lot of prints of black and white yet, do you?
No. No.
You're kind of known for color?
Yes, and that's what sells for me. Not to say I don't enjoy black and white, I certainly do. But a lot of people ask me for my color work, and so, you know, give the people what they want, right?
Yeah. So you got a lot of images.
Yep.
Which one should we print?
Well, let's print, how about this one here? Fall on the Madawaska.
Madawaska.
Okay, so we'll open that up in Photoshop, and there we have it. So the way that I work is I start with a master file, and then because I do several different sizes, I have to have separate files for each size. So we're going to create a 30 by 45 size print, okay? We're going to put the edges on it. So I'll start out with my master file basically by flattening it, obviously to reduce when we're going this large.
After all the tweaks that you've done
yeah,
for color.
This is exactly, those have been done already. We'll work for argument's sake in 8-bit mode because again of the file size. When we're going up to 30
well,
by
the other
45,
thing is you've already finished all the tone and the color.
That's right.
You've converted it to 8-bit after you've done the flattening.
Exactly. That's
which
correct.
is an important thing to remember.
That's right. Exactly. So we'll size this now, image size to 30 by 45. And then what we'll do is we'll have it fit to screen. For this purpose, we're not going to get into the details of sharpening for output and that. That's a separate area that you'll be addressing, that I'm sure. But what's important here is canvas edges, right? Making these mirrored edges. So we start with our finished size. Now what we need to do is we need to add the part that wraps around the stretcher. When we go and actually stretch this piece later, you'll see this. We are going to use 1.5-inch thick stretcher bars, okay? So we have basically 2 stretcher bars on each side, of course, for 4. So we have to add 3 inches of canvas, extra canvas, okay, printed image, plus a little bit to go around. And so I use a 1/4 inch to go around, so I actually add 3.5 inches, so it's 1.75 on each edge. So we're going to start with that, and we'll go to image, canvas size, and we'll choose white as our background color, and we'll go to 47.5 inches by 33.5 and hit OK.
And you've determined this all by trial and error.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've never actually made any mistakes, have you?
Never, of course not. No, I mean, looking at what we just have right here now, let me just double check. I might have made a...
Yes, you did.
I did, yes. So we want to go to 48.5, which is 3.5 on the 45, right? And by 33, okay? Yeah. And that will... And we're all set. No, I've never made mistakes at all. The best teacher in the world is a mistake, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
if you get everything right, you don't learn anything.
No, that's right. That's right. So what we have here then is our canvas extensions done. There are different thickness stretcher bars. In the industry, your standards are 3/4 inch and 1.5 inch. This is for the 1.5 inch, the nice thick gallery wraps. If I was doing 3/4 inch, same idea. However, instead of it being 1.75 on each side, we would do 0.75 plus 1/4, we would do 1 on each side, 1 inch. So we would be adding 2 inches extension. All right. So,
and you did that in your head without a calculator.
That's right. Yes.
Experience.
Yes. What we want to do is we need to add some guides onto here. And this is going to help us when we, basically with mirroring, what we're doing is we're copying part of the image and then we're pasting it onto the extension. So our guides are going to help keep it accurate. I'll hold the shift key down while I put these in place and just drag until they snap in. And what you'll notice here is they're snapping in against the edge of the image.
Handy.
Okay, my guides are in place. Now, what you want to do here is you want to do your vertical sides first, okay? So we're going to take an area from the left-hand side. We're going to select our marquee tool, and we're going to go to the style here. We're going to go fixed size. You can go ratio or normal. Fixed size is going to give us the most accurate. And what we have is our width. Remember, we added 1.75. That's our width. And our height here is the height of the image, which is 30. And these are inches, of course. We'll click, and there we have our rectangle, we'll copy this. So we'll just use the Command C key, and then you want to drag it over, again, snapping it right into place, and hit the V key, Command V. So what we've done is we've copied the image, but we haven't mirrored it yet. So what we're going to do is go to Edit, Transform, and we're going to flip this horizontal, not vertical. Even though we're working in the vertical size, we're going to go to Flip Horizontal, and you're going to see that come right into place there. Okay.
Kind of a Rorschach thing going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is actually kind of neat, because when you look at a canvas at edge, either it's the image that you've cropped, extended around, which means you lose image, or the mirror wrap, the gallery wrap, allows you to kind of, you know, see the image, but it's kind of an infinity kind of
That's
thing.
right. When I shoot really tight in camera, right? So every part of the composition is important to me, and I didn't want to lose that. In the beginning, before I knew about this, I was just making the image bigger, wrapping it around and losing that. But this gives me the way now to keep the composition intact without losing anything around the edges. Okay. People also like it because it gives it a 3D perspective look, sitting off the wall, and I get a lot of compliments on that and how the image carries around. This by far is the most popular choice. You can, of course, just do a solid color if you want, but then it becomes what color do you choose? And not everybody's going to like the color that you choose. I mean, as an artist, it's up to you, but I've found this to be the most popular for what I see with my clients. So we're going to do the other side now. It's important that we go and select the background layer, so that's what we're doing our copying off of, and basically just a repetition of what we just did. Okay, and then we'll copy, we'll paste, and we'll do a transform, flip it horizontal. And what I'm going to do is we'll just do a quick double check, okay? I'm going to turn off the guides, and what I want to do is I want to just magnify this in a little bit and make sure that my registration is perfect, okay? And as you can see, it is on the edge there.
Yep.
And on this, as this side, it's showing a little bit of white.
Very
so let's
good.
just come in. Okay, and when you come in at 100%, you're going to see that's gone.
Yeah.
So it is. It's correct. So just making sure. Okay. Next key step. You have to flatten this. Okay. So now we're flat. Now we're going to do the top and the bottom of the image. We'll put our rulers back on. The same thing. We'll get our marquee tool. Change our sizes now. What we're doing here is not we're doing the extended size of the image, not the actual 45, but the 48.5 inch.
Aha,
Okay.
That's why you had to flatten it.
Yes, that's right, because we're going to be copying into the white where we have white corners. If we didn't flatten it, you will see those white corners. And when you go to fold it, those white corners will show up and they don't look very attractive. So what we're going to do now is the height 1.75. And again, we will copy, paste, and we go edit, transform, and this time we're going to flip them vertically. Select the background, and we'll do the same thing for the bottom. Copy it, paste it, flip it vertically, and we'll just check our registration. You become pretty confident with this after a while, and you know that your registration is going to be good, but it's always better to check it now than to wait till the end and have printed our lines in there. So there we can see it, and it's great.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of work to do. I'll flatten these as well too, every time you want to make a print. So what I do is I've created actions for this, basically based on standard sizes. So that kind of helps if you can standardize your sizes. We can create actions, and everything that I did here, I will size the image, sharpen it for output, and then push play the action, and it will do it instantly.
Can I just see the action? You
Certainly.
don't have to run it.
Nope. Okay, so here's my list of actions. So I have them set up horizontal or vertical in all my standard sizes. So we're doing a horizontal 30 by 45. So here it is right here, and you can see there's all our steps, right down to the last one of flatten the image.
And one of the advantages of the action is absolute consistency.
Yes.
One of the great things about a computer is that it does exactly what you tell it to do. That's also one of the worst things about a computer is that it does exactly what you tell it to do.
Yeah.
So, you know, once you write an action, you can be really high confidence level that the results, as opposed to doing it manually time after time after time, that once you fine tune the action, you know that the results will be correct.
And the other nice thing about it is I don't always have to be the one doing these now. My staff can do that. They can take an image, enlarge it, play the action, and produce something even when I'm not here, where before it was heavily dependent on myself. And so that's another nice predictable result, as you said.
So at this point, it would be ready to print.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And you're printing out to a 9900? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and print it, and let's go check the print.
Okay. We'll just pull it out. And we can put
So
it
you actually let the printer cut the canvas now?
That's correct.
Yep.
On the 9900s, the cutter on them is really durable. We cut thousands a year without having to replace the cutter. Not a problem at all. The old series of Epsons, it was recommended that certainly that you did have it, that you cut it with the scissors.
Yeah. So the next step would be to spray it. But you actually let the print dry overnight.
Yeah, you can't just spray it the moment it comes out of the printer. It has to off gas.
Yes.
Okay, similar to a RC print.
So this is your spray booth?
Yeah, it's a makeshift spray booth. Jeff, as I was mentioning, we just moved to this facility, and so we put this up real quick before we could have a permanent one built in, but it works really, really well. It's simple. It's PVC piping that you would use for plumbing, goes together like a mechano set, and then what we've done is we put vapor barrier, okay, what you'll line houses with basically, really thick poly around here, allows us to contain the spray without it going all over the workshop.
Yeah.
And it was cheap, $200 to put this whole thing. We built a little rack here just for holding the prints. Let me show you this here. So for instance, here's a print that has off-gassed and needs to be sprayed. So we just have it clipped onto our simple 1x2, 1x3 piece of wood.
With the alligator clips screwed on?
All available at your Home Depot store. It's a really effective way for us to work. We can move them easily without touching them. You certainly don't want to set them down. You can't stack them when they're wet. They have to sort of hang vertically, and it just seems to work really well for our purposes.
So tell me about your spray gun.
Yep. So what I like to use, rather than a air compressor, which has a tendency to cut in, cut out, cut in, and you can get variances in flow, okay, variances in pattern of the spray. What I use is it's a turbine spray system. It's driven by a turbine, kind of like the reverse of a shop vac. Okay, it's a constant pressure of air. It's made by Fuji, not Fuji related to photography products, but Fuji spray. There's a bunch of different models. I use the Q3 Pro, it's called. They're probably up to their Q4 Pro.
Are you right-handed or left-handed?
I'm going to do this left-handed.
Okay. You're left-handed too.
Yes, that's right.
Give me 5.
With the right hand.
Yeah.
The gun here is, again, from the same company. It's an HVLP, high volume, low pressure gun, okay? What we want to accomplish when we're spraying is you want to have an even flow. You want to have just enough going onto the canvas so that it doesn't drip, but you don't want too little that it doesn't get a good coverage. I've been playing with 1 coat, 2 coats. Now I'm finding for performance-wise, it's better if we do 2 average amounts, 2 coats. And what I like to do is kind of use an arc like this, a V-shaped arc.
Show me what,
Yeah, and what we would do is you just I move from left to right, overlapping about 50% on the way down. Okay.
And about that distance?
Yeah, about 8 inches from the print. And it's important that you don't go angle like this or angle like that, because you'll get really thick pattern
and
here.
And you really need to go off the print.
Yeah, before
off, turning
you
direction.
Certainly do. I also usually do just a test squirt. When we have this turned on, you'll see I'll just do a quick test pattern, make sure it's coming out the way I want it. The mixture, the coating that I use is by Breathing Color. It's called their Glamour II. It comes in matte and gloss, and the idea is you mix them together to get your consistency. I like a satin, so I'll use about 60% gloss, about 40% matte, and then you need to add water to it. When you're spraying, you definitely want to add some water, about 25% water, or to the consistency of milk, if you can imagine what that's like. That's usually in between milk and cream. That's kind of where I'll dilute it with water. Yeah, half and half. That's right. Okay, Jeff. So that's kind of a description about what we do when we're spraying.
Let me just ask. So you do like this?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Speed you need to go fast enough so that it doesn't start to build up and drip. It really takes a knack to get used to it. A good thing is everybody has damaged prints lying around that for whatever reason, to practice on the damaged ones. And it's hard for me to explain the exact combination of speed and flow volume that you want to use, but you basically want to get it so that there's no excess, so that it's starting to cloud up. If you start to see it cloud up and look white and that kind of translucent look, you're putting too much on in that spot. So you just need to keep it going, constant motion while you're spraying.
So Andrew, go ahead and spray this puppy.
Okay, sure. I'm happy to show you how to do that.
Okay.
We'll start with our mask. Just to keep the particles out. It's not a toxic base that we're using. It's not an oil-based. However, it is, you definitely don't want to be breathing this on prolonged periods of time. So I just use a simple 3M mask. Again, you get in the paint section at the Home Depot, really does the trick.
You have to hang this. How long do you let it dry?
It varies. Usually we attempt overnight. However, that will be ready to go within about 6 hours. On a really dry winter's day, 4 hours. On a really humid summer's day, certainly overnight. You don't want it to be sticky when you're stretching it. It can be a little bit damp, but...
And once it's dry, what's the durability like?
It's good. It's good. It's not meant to be rubbed with steel wool or anything like that. For this demonstration, we did 1 coat, but normally I'd be putting 2 coats on, which adds to the durability. What the spray does, stops it from cracking when you stretch it. Okay, that's a real sign of amateur work when you see the cracking along the edges. It also protects it from fading. It has UV blockers in it, so it extends the life of the color of the image as well too. And then it gives it some of that scuff protectant, if you will, through general. If you set it down on the ground, it's not going to flake off the ink. It's not going to scratch the image.
So the next step in the process is?
Well, once we've sprayed and it's dried, while that's happening, we will be making a stretcher bar for it. In this situation, what we're going to do is we're going to use the 1.5-inch stretchers. These we basically, every time a print is printed, we have to measure it and cut a stretcher for it. The reason being, a lot of people aren't aware, but the prints actually shrink. This started out as a 30 by 45 on a 36-inch roll. So this is our 36-inch this way. It doesn't stretch that way. It stretches the lengthwise, okay?
It shrinks.
It shrinks, it shrinks, yes. So this has gone down to about 44 inches. It's lost an inch. And the reason we have to measure each one is it depends on the environment when you're printing. In the wintertime, they don't shrink as much. In the humid summer weather, they shrink more. Don't ask me why, but they do. So what we do is we measure each piece, and so basically from mirrored edge to mirrored edge, okay? What we want to measure, we're showing about 44 here, all right? So when I make my stretcher, what I'm going to do is actually just make it subtly bigger than 44, because when you stretch this, you pull it.
Oh yeah,
okay?
I can
so
see
we'll
the
add
stretch.
about 1/8 of an inch. So it would be about 44 and 1/8.
But only on the width.
Only on the long side.
You don't lose much at all on the...
When we stretch, you need to have the tightest pull is going to be on the longest side of the print, okay? So when we stretch this, the main tension's coming from this side. When we stretch the other side, we basically almost can do it by hand. We don't want it to be saggy or anything, but we just need it to be taut, not pulled tight, tight, tight. So that's where what I'll do is the width across here, this dimension will be exactly 30 inches. It wouldn't have shrunk that way, and we're not going to be adding a lot of stretch to it, so we're not going to have to add 1/8 to it. But it's this dimension that shrinks, and then we have to add a little back. So there's a little more to it than just going out and buying your standard size stretchers, because it's unpredictable when it comes out of the printer. The reason it shrinks the wet ink onto cotton, take a shirt, cotton, or anything cotton, soak it, it's going to shrink, and that's what happens.
Yeah, I find my shirts seem to shrink all the time.
Okay, so basically what I have here is I have a stretcher bar that we've already made for this piece. So what I'll do now is I'll just kind of walk you through the process. Okay. I have a workbench here that we built, put some carpet on it. The reason being, when you're stretching, you're going to work face down. It'll make sense to you why I add that 1/4 inch in the computer, that little bit extra of the image to wrap around, because Otherwise, we're going to have a bit of a tough time knowing how to center this, okay? We have those mirrored edges as our guide, but what I can do, over time, you become really good at just knowing there's a quarter on either side. So you can get one side lined up, and then if you go and check the edges, you can also see, yep, that's lined up. So what I did here, we also have to do for this side, for the end. So we're going to go quarter, and we'll line that up, and just double check my side here. And what we're going to do is we're going to attach one edge first, okay? So I've got that where I want it. So what I'll do is I'll grab my stapler. Of course, you can use a hand stapler for this if you want. I'm going to put some staples in the back. Every couple of inches or so.
So it's important to get the first edge straight.
Yep, that's right. Now, the way that you keep it straight when you're stretching, when it goes into the machine, sometimes it can slide a little bit. So what I like to do here is just put a few guides on that I can use as reference on the back of the print. So we use our in pencil. So we'll line up this side now. And again, quarter inch. The whole point is it's even, quarter inch. And we'll put a couple of guides to help keep it straight. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this into this machine here. This is called a Tensador II. It's a canvas stretcher. They're made in Florida. Works really well for us. Does up to 60 inches wide. If we have anything bigger than 60 inches, we have to do it by hand. But for most of our work, it falls into this category. And this machine does a really good job. So I'll explain how it works. The other thing I want to mention is that you'll see a support bar in here as well too. Really important. I find that once you get over 30 inches in any dimension, you need to put a support in it, or the canvas is going to start to bow like that, especially with the tension on it. All right. Well, this basically slides into the machine here, like such. These are adjustable, so it will take different widths. And this is where I line it up with my lines.
Okay, so it's actually sitting on the...
Yeah, it's sitting right on there. It has gone through the machine. I'm looking at those pencil marks, and this works off of an air compressor system, so it grabs the canvas. And this is where the stretch happens. It's a cantilever action. So when I pull down like this, lift it up, and I just come around back. And this is giving us our... Okay. That'll work for now.
So the amount of stretch is kind of predetermined
Yes.
based upon the thickness of that and the angle that you pull it.
That's correct. Okay. So now what we have here is we have our piece. Now this is we just want to clarify something here. When we stretch this, it's still a little bit wet from the spray, okay? So we did sort of move the production process along. And what's happened is because it's wet, it's stretched even more than that 1/8 of an inch, okay? So this is all the variables. So you can see it's a little bit wider on the edges here. One of the things is with your mirrored edges, you don't want the mirror to show on the face. Wrapping it around slightly a different story. This will probably get put into a float frame as well too, which is an option. But as you can see here, we've got I'll show you. We've got on the front here, we got the first stretch done. We've got the main tension applied to it, and now what we'll do is we'll finish the sides.
Okay. By hand?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll do one by hand and one on the machine. Okay.
So the first one by hand.
Yes.
And then the second one to get an even stretch.
Exactly. Okay. So you just don't fold your corners back like this. I like to sort of take some time and make them look good. So I don't know if there's a technical term for this. People have called it a hospital fold, but basically I spend a bit of time properly preparing my corners, okay, and properly folding them in. And the way that it works is you want to create sort of the seams because we're going to have to cut some of this excess material out. So what I've done here is I've kind of basically, I take the canvas as it comes like this, I fold in the middle and it creates a flap, a triangle at the top, okay? Create a seam in that. Then I'm going to bring it back, hold it in with my thumb. I know this can be a little challenging to follow, but you'll have to practice and practice and you get good at it. And what we do is we're creating a really nice fold in the end there, okay? what we want to do here is, I often have to frame these up, so I cut out the excess material. So I'm cutting right down the middle. Cut across
Kind of
the
like
top.
wrapping a package at Christmas.
Yes, it is.
I hate that part.
Yeah, well, if you're going to do canvas, you got to become a good packer. Okay, so we've got one of our corners prepared. Do the same to the other side. Okay, and what we'll do now is we'll attach this side. So I'm just going to hold these down. Make sure you get a good staple.
You ever stapled your finger?
Not yet. There's always a first, though. And what I'm going to do...
Having said that, I'm sorry I said that.
Yeah, don't bring it up, please. What we'll do here is... So I'm pulling this tight. Just making sure. Okay. So there's one side done. And what we have now is we're going to basically get the other side ready. We've got our corners done, as you can see there.
Very nice.
Okay. Our corner done there. And I just make sure if I have to tuck any more in, I will. And we'll do the same on this side now. You get really quick at this. I know it looks like a little bit of a process, but it does go fast.
It's simple but kind of complicated. The simple part, but there's a real technique to it.
Yes.
So do you ever offer workshops or tutorials?
Well, obviously there's a lot that goes on here, and many photographers are interested in the canvas printing, the large format printing, but certainly, as you can see with the equipment that's required, the techniques that are required, unless you're going to be doing this full-time as your business and you're willing to commit to the learning curve, most people are going to want to source it and have it done for them. And there's two things that we do here. I definitely teach printmaking workshops, and we basically work in my facility here. Half of it is the processing your images in the computer, getting them ready to print. What do I do to make them look good on the canvas? How do we prepare the edges, etc. The subtle image processing you need to do to sort of compensate for basically what the print takes away, what the canvas takes away. Yep. Those are workshops that I teach. The other side of my business, which is a new division that we started, is called Print Partner. And the website on that is printpartner.ca, and where it's a wholesale business to business where photographers can, or other artists can upload their images, purchase through us, we produce them and ship them to them. And that is meant to be for photographers in business because it gives them an opportunity to purchase a completed canvas at a wholesale level and then be able to resell it at a normal market price and actually make some profit in this industry, which can be, as anybody who's been trying to do this for a while can know, you need to have all the advantages you can find. So what I've done now is I've attached the final stretch. I just come back and okay.
I like the foot switch.
Yeah.
It's the third hand.
It is. So what we have here now is a nice drum-tight canvas. Edges are finished, ready to hang on the wall.
Very nicely done. And if I may say, you seem to enjoy it.
I do. It's what I do, Jeff. And if you can't enjoy what you do, then you should do something else, right?
Yeah.
No, it's great. Everything from the printing, the production, obviously the photography. I love every aspect of it. And I think that as much care has to go into the presentation as does the content of what you photograph. We spend a lot of time sourcing and scouting and looking for locations. And this is what it's about here. I mean, you know, it's a shame to have a fantastic photograph live on a computer and never see the light of day in a print. And certainly with the canvas, it definitely gives you an opportunity to print big, not have all the disadvantages of glass with glare, reflection, size limitations, weight, be able to create something that's relatively affordable and that people really enjoy.
And I have to tell you that at least this finish in particular, the canvas texture does actually seem to help. And the moment you step back from here, you don't see it.
No, you don't. And you have to always remember in this business as well too, viewing distance, right? Viewing distance. At the average viewing distance over a sofa is going to be 8-10 feet, and your average consumer who's purchasing art is not a pixel peeper like us photographers can tend to be. And so if anything, when they do look closely at it, what they see is the canvas, and that adds a level of uniqueness to it that they don't normally expect in a photograph. And quite often you'll get questions of like, are these paintings or is it acrylic? How did you do this? And a lot of people aren't used to the fact that you can put photographs onto canvas.
Andrew, in the gallery, we saw the face mount to acrylic prints that you had done, kind of a new process for you.
Yep.
Can you show just the general process and steps and materials?
Sure, Jeff. We just took delivery of this. This is a heat assist roll mount machine made by Drytac, and specifically this is going to be doing our face mount to acrylics. I'll walk you through the basic overall kind of process, as you mentioned. We won't get into the particulars, but other than to say that it's an extremely complicated process. Really have to be careful of inclusions of dust, of anything. So we want to be working with anti-static brushes, tack cloths, just to get the print ready, get all the substrates we're going to use. But it sort of works like this. You'll take a print, you want to print on really a high gloss type of paper, a very smooth. So I'm using the Ilford smooth gloss paper for this, the opposite of a canvas, okay, where canvas is very textured. And the first step, this print has already been, we have what's called the face mount adhesive already applied to this. So basically it's a double-sided adhesive that sticks to the print. And like double-sided tape, you have one side attached to the print, the other side, when we peel these back here, you're going to see is going to reveal a very sticky now surface here. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Now, when this is applied with heat and a little bit of temperature, it basically locks it on, mounts it right to the substrate.
You mean heat and a little bit of pressure?
A heat and a little bit of pressure. That's correct. Thank you. What we're going to be mounting it to is acrylic, and as I mentioned, there's different types of acrylic. Here's a piece for example. Okay, this is optically clear with some UV protection to it. No anti-reflectant on this one, but you can certainly get it with anti-reflectant. And the whole idea, what we want to do here, is the photograph is going to be mounted to the acrylic. Okay, ending up with a result that looks like this here. So what I have here is a piece that has the print attached to the acrylic, no protectant on the back yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so that gives you sort of an idea of the first step. And the way it kind of works is basically everything is just going to get run through the roller machine. You heat up these rollers, and we'll just do a quick dry run. It is very time consuming, so I won't actually apply it. The adhesive would come back like this here. Okay, to start, your print would be upside down like this onto the acrylic, and it would start to go through the machine. Pretty straightforward. These rollers heat up. You apply a little bit of pressure to it depending on what you're doing, and then we can turn them on, and basically it'll take that print right through, and you can just leave it, apply the right amount of pressure and heat to mount it right to the substrate. Once you get everything pre-made, the nice thing about this is you can have all your adhesive made, all your acrylics cut to size, and it becomes a real production line. Obviously, you'll be doing this with two people, one behind there to grab it when it comes out. Thank you, Jeff. Okay, so that would apply it onto the acrylic. You do have to finish the back of these, okay? just to protect the print. If anything scratches that from the back, it's going to show right through to the front. And what we're going to put on the back, there's different materials to use. Quite common, you're going to see a material called DiBond or Omega Bond. Similar product, has an aluminum finish to it. This one has a protective cover on it as well. This is the white finish in the back. You can get it silver both sides. There's so many choices you can choose. But basically, as we saw at the one in the gallery, this is then going to get mounted to the back of here. So what you have to do in order for it to adhere to it, you have to now apply adhesive onto the back of this. Okay, and that's another step through. Applies the adhesive, then you've got to run it through again to apply and sandwich, I guess, if you will, the two pieces together. On the back of these, what we'll then do is we'll build what's called like a aluminum C-channel, which stands it off the wall about an inch and allows you to free hang it, float it, or of course you can traditionally frame this, but again, without having to use the glass, you can just put the molding around it.
I noticed you don't have a lot of black and whites, but this one actually looks pretty nice in black and white.
This is one of the reasons I really wanted to move forward with this process, is because I quite like black and white using the high gloss papers. The D-Max, the detail, everything that a black and white print should be, this really brings out the best of it. And it also presents it in a very contemporary manner. So it's a very fresh look as well too. And so I'm quite excited about releasing some of my black and white photographs into this format.
Well, as we saw in the gallery, on the easel, that print looked absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. It's a big learning curve. It's kind of like where I was 5 years ago with canvas. Like, oh, what do I do? But we'll get it, and we're getting there. And lots of practice, we'll be able to offer this to our customers as well too.
As long as you have the right tools, that's the critical factor.
Yeah, this I did in reverse. Normally I create a demand for the product and then I buy the equipment, but I'm so confident with this. We went out and bought the equipment and knowing the demand will be there. So that's right, you do need the right tools. This is not something that you can do in your house unless you have the proper equipment. It's just impossible.
Well, between the 9900 and this thing, I don't know too many wives that would put up with that.
No, not in the basement. Absolutely.
Cool. Well, thank you for showing this.
No, I appreciate it, Jeff. Thank you.
Okay, cool.